keep them running.
As a person in my mid-40s who has worked physical trade jobs most of my life, I began asking what new skill could I not only bring to my current job, but to my personal life as well. Then I remembered my dad's old Atlas lathe and said, to any business that uses machines to produce their products, the ability to machine their own parts for those machines is paramount. I've used CNC lathes and mills before, but I knew the real skill, it lied in the analog world. So as I began walking around, looking, investigating, Precision Matthews came up. I had never heard of it. There was another brand, Grizzly, which we've used where I currently work and buying things from McMaster Car. Jet has popped up since I started going to community college, so I was going to look into that one. Recon was completely new to me. I had never heard of that before, and also with going to school, Bailey was also worth investigating. After realizing how many options there are, this can seem quite daunting. I'll just have to buckle up. So when I started looking at lathes, I chose the 6, 8, 10-inch swing because it was the right size for a hobbyist and a person that doesn't know a lot about what I'm doing. I started researching Precision Matthews first, and Precision Matthews works with specific, often higher quality manufacturers, primarily in Taiwan, and some in China, specifying tight tolerances and additional features. The owner is directly involved in design and quality control, and the company provides a longer warranty and better customer support. Taiwan-made machines are widely regarded as being of a higher quality than typical Chinese imports. Taking in that, started looking into them, and their prices were a little higher than my budget, but the PM1022V seems to be a very nice machine. You'll notice it's already got a quick tool quick change tool post, variable changes for different thread pitch cutting. All in all, it's a very nice machine, but for that price point, I really I wanted to investigate things further. You'll also notice there's so many different small adjustments on this lathe, so keep in mind the $32.99. So the next major brand that I kind of started looking into was Grizzly. We order a lot of things through McMaster Car, and some things like drill bit sharpeners, a couple other tools that have come from McMaster Car work Grizzly, so I've become accustomed with the name, and they seem very well made. Grizzly Industrial is a major U.S. supplier of metalworking machinery. It's known for offering a wide range of affordable direct-to-consumer lathes and other shop equipment. The company sells wood lathes for turning projects and metal lathes for gunsmithing and just general fabrication. I like its simplicity. I like that it has a lot of the features that the Precision Matthews lathe had, especially with your gear changes being more, automatic or at a switch. But again, for the $4,000, it just seemed a little beyond my price point. And the thing that I've had to remind myself, and what I'm going to try to remind you guys, is when you buy a lathe or a tool like this, you have to figure in the parts that you're going to have to get to add to it to be able to make anything. So I was trying to keep that variable in mind as well. So I've currently started taking TIG classes at my local community college, and they had a couple of jet machines in there, and they seemed pretty nice. So I obviously investigated jet, and along the lines with Precision Matthews and even Grizzly, this feature seems to have a lot of the same creature comforts. It's a very nice looking piece of machinery. It's very well put together. Jet makes a wide range of lathes for woodworking and metalworking, known for features like electronic variable speed or EVS, solid cast iron construction, and digital readouts. They cater both to hobbyists and professionals with models for various project sizes, from small gifts to large spindles. And they're backed by a reputation for quality and service. So after, kind of seeing the ones in the shop at school and then looking at this one, the BDB 919 was of an interest to me. But again, when I got to the price of it, it was a little more than what I wanted to invest in something that I did not know that I was going to keep or use for a long time. Again, I'm a beginner. I don't know anything about lathes. I was just trying to get the most bang for my buck, and this one was a little on the high side, again, knowing how many things I was going to have to buy to go with it. So while trying to find the right lathe for me and my budget, I stumbled across a company called Recon Power Tools. They're known for designing quality, user-friendly lathes and other tools, bandsaws, planers. They've got a decent balance of performance and affordability. They target both hobbyists and pros. Their production is an ISO 9001 certified facility. Again, it's another Chinese lathe. But what I'm starting to notice as I look into all of these lathes is there's certain key components that are just very similar looking. Now, this one doesn't have the quick variable gear change knobs, but it all of these lathes look roughly the same. So I decided to dig in a little further, but to me, it looks like most of these machines are made similarly, or at least parts of them are made in the same places. And as previously stated, started going back to school to get some welding certifications, and there was a couple of welding tables in there, very, very huge, solid, nice looking welding tables, and they were made by a company called Bailey, which is another well-known supplier of industrial metalworking and woodworking machinery. They offer a broad range, including precision lathes, tube benders, press brakes, plasma cutters, serving both hobbyists and commercial fabricators. They seem to be have a good, durable quality about them, according to reviews. So started investigating, and this one is a little smaller than the size lathe that I wanted. And the one thing I want you as viewers to keep in mind when you decide to buy whatever size lathe you do decide to buy, remember, as you add tools in here, your workspace, your linear workspace, is just going to get smaller and smaller. But again, at the price of $17.59, I didn't know that I wanted to spend this much money on a lathe this small. So throughout my pursuit, I stumbled across a company called VEVOR, and they're a large online retailer and distributor of tools and equipment. They're known for offering affordable, budget-friendly machines like mini metal and woodworking lathes, primarily targeting DIYers and hobbyists, rather than being a traditional manufacturer. I had a friend recently bought an electrical cabinet from VEVOR and spoke very highly of its how it was made for the price. And it seems like VEVOR is more of an online Amazon kind of marketplace for tools. But long story short, this tool offers roughly the same features that I've seen on the majority of the other tools for a price point that I could afford, knowing that I was going to use this as a learning tool and a hobbyist style fashion. And this also gave me a little more wiggle room with buying additional supplies and things that I may need to make certain projects. One thing I do want to keep in mind that I hadn't brought up yet, keep in mind the weight of these little desktop lathes. They're small, but they're heavy, so this is definitely not going to be a one-person job getting it up onto your table. Definitely use someone to assist. Another thing I noticed is that this motor was a 750 watt. A lot of the motors that I had seen on other ones were, 1,000 or 1,100. So again, I knew going into this that I was going to want to change things like the tool post. There's certain things I knew I was going to want to change, but like I said, it gave me a lot of flexibility for the price point. If you look at this graph, even after tooling, my VEVOR still lands below or right at the entry price of the next tier of machines before tooling. This is why I wanted to make this graph. The VEVOR looks cheap online, but once I added $636 in tooling, my real entry point was about $1,835. What surprised me is that even at that number, I'm still below the machine-only cost of the Bailey, and far below Precision Matthews, Grizzly, Recon, or Jet, and they would all still need tooling. This wasn't about buying the best lathe, it was about buying the best lathe for where I am, for me. I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, what was it you bought? Well, let's talk about that. So this VEVOR Quick Change Tool Post set came with 8 pieces, includes many different tool holders, and fits the size lathe that I, was interested in buying. One of the neatest features about this is this holder right here. Interesting thing about this that I've learned since I started using it is that you can put an insert in here for cutoffs, but you can sharpen it and resize it, so you don't have to worry about breaking inserts. But for this to come with as many options and to be as well made as I can personally say that it is now, it was a very good option for the price of roughly $130 to $160. So this is a 4-jaw chuck. I purchased this because I knew I was going to want to turn things that were oddly shaped or square. And another thing to keep in mind is there's a nicer version of this one, but this one is pretty good for the price, $63.90. It's machined fairly well. One of the pieces, one of the adjustment screws on it is a little tough to turn, but again, I'm just learning. I didn't want to dump a lot of money into things that were super expensive and I didn't know how to use them. I thought this was a very nice tool for the amount of money that it cost me. I purchased this shank and collet set specifically because a machinist friend of mine suggested to do it. He basically stated that if you have too much tooling in the way or whatnot and you want to make cuts closer to your chuck, that you wouldn't be able to get but so close because of mechanical interference. So I bought these just on a whim and appreciating his expertise. I ordered these inserts not knowing anything about the brand. Again, they were affordable. They fit the tooling that I had ordered. And I have worked in a machine shop before, so I understand the concepts, but I was operating a CNC mill machine, so I really didn't need any knowledge to operate the equipment. So I knew what to kind of start getting. Now, one thing I have learned, and I've tested it, is this bit right here is what I use to start threading. So that was neat. I'd never learned that concept in changing of the gears. But this Oscarbide brand, it's a Chinese brand. It's $32, and I've not had any major issues with it. And for the price point, and it gets pretty good reviews for its price point, I think it was well worth the money. These are the parting blades that I purchased, and when I was discussing the tool post, that one tool that I highlighted that holds these, the reason this is so neat is that when it breaks or it dulls, you can just sharpen it with a benchtop grinder. Again, this was a suggestion from a friend of mine, because that way your work will not be impeded when you break an insert. For $22 to get 2 of them, they're 8% cobalt, which means they're going to be a little harder. Keep in mind, the harder, the more cobalt you start messing with. What I'm learning is that they just break easier. But if you are using them true and they're straight and square, absolutely fantastic little cutters for their price. I decided to buy this drill hog set because it was suggested by another person that they had, gotten a pretty good deal. When you start buying cobalt anything, it's going to cost a little bit more. I know a lot of people, some of the reviews, people have talked just absolute trash about this brand, that it's a Chinese-based company trying to set up precedents in the United States. Well, okay, that doesn't bother me at all. Will some say I overspent for Chinese drill bits? Maybe. But from machining things in the past, Drill bits are worth every dime you spend on them. So whether you agree with my decision on this purchase or not it's completely up to you, and that's fine. But I think I got a good drill bit set for what I paid. After researching several different brands, I decided to stick with the AccuSize Industrial Tool center drills. They get pretty good reviews. I am sticking with the M42 or the 8% cobalt with the majority of the things that I'm buying. And again, for $29, I've used these things on several projects, and they just do exactly what they're supposed to do. So I feel, again, this is money well spent. I decided to stick with AccuSize again on ordering some countersinks. Now, I chose the 82-degree countersinks because the project I initially wanted to begin required this degree of countersink. But so just keep in mind, whatever you want to use is what you need to get so far as its width or depth. So I chose the 82s, and for the $116, yet again, I've not used these things. I only used these twice and only two of the sizes. But, I mean, they did everything I wanted them to do. Again, I don't know that this is going to hold up in, an industrial setting. But for a hobbyist, a person that's learning, I thought, again, I got a really good deal. This item is a 100% must-have. I'm not telling you to buy this exact item. I bought it honestly because I thought it was pretty. But it doesn't matter if you work on cars, if you're trying to learn to be a machinist. This is a very sturdy aluminum. It functions great. For $40, this is a must-have. Again, I don't really care which version you buy, but if you're going to start playing with metal nuts and bolts and figuring things out, you're going to have something along these lines. And for $40, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Again, I just want everyone to understand that I had a budget of roughly $2,000. I am a complete and utter novice. I wanted to buy a tool that would provide me knowledge that I could not only extend for me as a hobbyist personally, but something that would add value to my current job as well. These graphs explain my decisions better than any words. The VEVOR may not be the most capable machine. Only time will tell me that. But look where it lands on cost. For under $1,900 all in, minus shipping fees, I got enough capability to actually start making parts. Everything else climbs super fast in cost before you can actually gain meaningful capability. So here you'll see the tool post attached to my lathe. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that it does not fit when you first take it out of the box. You have to modify the through bolt to the compound slide. So my very next video is going to be about how I changed from the original tool post to this particular tool post. You'll notice the tool that I took off was a parting blade. Well, it can be used as a parting blade. That is one way it can be used. This is the parting blades that I had mentioned several times, the ones that you could actually regrind and repurpose. But I look forward to seeing you guys in our next video, and it should be fun. I would like to thank everyone who made it to the end of this video. My first video was a test and probably not that great. I'm not saying this one is great either, but I hope you can tell that I have paid attention to constructive criticism and am learning. If there's anything that you guys are curious about, whether it be how I am learning to use Studio One, Adobe Premiere, and other programs like OBS, as well as just general organizational tips, please feel free to ask in the comments. I'm very happy with my investment. This little lathe has already allowed me to complete 4 projects. For the money, being able to start actually using this device for around $2,000 is just simply amazing. So again, thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video where I show you how to mount the tool post. Keep them running.